The Building Brands Marketing Podcast is dedicated to exploring the journeys of industry leaders who have successfully built a brand. Join me, Robert Breuer, president of Building Brands Marketing, and an entrepreneur who's successfully scaled multiple brands as we dive deep into the strategies, challenges, and insights that have shaped the success of industry leaders and provide you with the resources you need to do the same. Building Brands Marketing is a full-service marketing agency specializing in crafting customized marketing strategies for service-based businesses with a creative powerhouse to drive real results. Welcome to the Building Brands Podcast. Welcome today to the Legal Leader series of the Building Brands Podcast. I'm excited to welcome Tabitha Taylor, co-founder and attorney with the Bryant Taylor Law PLLC firm. Tabitha, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. Let's start with the basics, Tabitha. What type of law does Bryant Taylor Law practice, and what would you say makes your firm unique?
So we are a boutique business litigation law firm, and what makes us unique is we are a completely flat fee firm, and we also focus on the aesthetics industry.
Very cool. So you've niched down to that aesthetics industry. What led to niching down to that vertical?
We realized that in order to really be successful at our business, and what we had to understand was we are business owners that sell legal services. We are not attorneys, right? So we kind of had to have that mindset shift. And once we did have that mindset shift, we realized that in order to be successful as business owners, we needed to really understand who our audience was. And that didn't mean as business attorneys servicing any business. And we really kind of had to dig down and figure out what industry we wanted to work within. So that's kind of how we got to that decision, was realizing that we're not generalists, and we are going to have some people want a complacent, not even necessarily complacent, but like a comfortable lifestyle. And being a generalist is very great for a comfortable lifestyle, but that's not the type of business owners we wanted to be.
Yeah. So if I recall correctly, talking before today's show, talking casually with you, you started the firm as a second-year attorney. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So that's a leap early on. What inspired you to take the leap so quickly, and how did you develop the initial brand identity?
It honestly, I'm a big believer in everything kind of happens for a reason. And for me in particular, I had worked at a large firm, a national firm. And in law school, you kind of think that's where all the glory is, right? I quickly realized it was not. The paycheck was nice, but all of the politics and the drama was not really for me. In particular, one thing that stood out was I was, in my particular office at least, I was always one of the top billers. And there was an instance where I had a couple doctor's appointments and my billing dropped, but still met the minimum of what I had to do for that month, right? It just wasn't as high as what I was normally billing. And I got in trouble for that. And I was like, you know what? I am here before everybody else. I'm a morning person. So I would get in around 7 o'clock to the office. And if I left around 6 or 7 at night, just because everybody else got there later and was staying until 9 or 10 at night, it reflected poorly on me. And that was really what made me realize I needed to take my career into my own hands. And if I wanted that sort of autonomy where I know what I'm capable of without having to worry about, am I going to get in trouble for leaving at 6:43 today instead of at 8:43, coupled with the fact that I didn't like the billing practices of the firms that I worked for. I think it pitted us against the client, right? The faster I work, the happier you are, the less I get paid. The longer I take, the more I get paid, the more unhappy you are because the more you have to pay. So that's kind of like it kind of just all came together, and it happened that at the firm I was with at the time, I had left the larger firm already and went to a business litigation law firm And it just so happened that that attorney was going to take a medical leave and the practice was kind of going to wind down a little bit. And I said, you know what, this is a great opportunity. The clients know me, they like me. I'm kind of confident some might come with me, and they did. So that's how it all happened.
Man, that's amazing. So what would you say is at the core of the brand identity for Bryant Taylor Law?
I would say we really understand the business owner's journey. And we're grounded in practical advice. And sometimes my clients don't want to hear it, but that I'm not here to, spoon feed you what you want to hear. Sometimes it is the best business decision for you to take different actions than what you want. And because we really understand both businesses, we tell our clients we speak two languages. We speak the business owner language, and then we speak the aesthetics language, which is completely different. There's a lot of attorneys that are healthcare attorneys, and that's wonderful, but that encompasses so much: dental practices, your primary care, all that good stuff. So by speaking specifically the aesthetics language, I know what your business does. I know how it operates. I can anticipate problems that you're not going to understand, and also have that business attorney perspective. That is something that we really built our brand around, is understanding the two industries and merging them into one.
Yeah, I like that. I know in talking with you, you really like picked that niche and just drilled down in that niche. And the reality is, the more reps you can get in those same trenches, not only do you obviously become more experienced and go through more scenarios and troubleshooting situations within that niche, but you also by the very nature, start building more systemized processes. You know, I'm curious. Could you give me a little bit more context into how you drilled down and chose that niche in the aesthetics industry?
Yeah. So what we did, my business partner and I, we said, okay, we made the decision. We're going to niche. We know that. So we said, let's make a list. And on one list, we are going to make a list of all of the clients that paid us the most in the last 12 months. And that's important because if I love this client, but you're not paying me, you're not going to continue to run my business or help my business run.
Yeah.
So we focused on who paid us the most. Then we said, okay, out of that list, let's go over, completely disregard the list we just made, and let's make a list of all the clients we genuinely enjoy working with. And after we did that, we cross-referenced and said, who's on both lists? And there was a handful of industries. And so from there, we picked the one that we thought we would be the most passionate about. For example, there was another industry, I won't say it so that in case the client's listening, but there was another industry, and I was like, that's kind of boring. I don't want to learn about this industry any more than I already do. Aesthetics is fascinating and it's constantly changing. Private equity is getting into it. So there's so much opportunity in this industry. And we said, okay, let's go with that one.
Yeah, I find this really interesting because there's so many ways that you can select a niche and kind of narrow it down. In many cases, it could be something as simple as, the exercise you walked through. It also could be, hey, looking at our past experience. In our instance, when, building brands marketing, when we niche down to attorneys, doctors, and home services, we looked at our client portfolio and asked, what are the clients we have the most of that we produce the best results for? And that's another way to do it. It's a similar approach, but saying, hey, what are the ones we have the most reps in the gym with? There's several different ways that you can go about it. I am really curious, from a marketing perspective, especially once you defined this niche market and made the conscious decision, we're going to go after this aesthetics industry. What marketing strategies have been most effective in growing the brand and generating new leads since then?
Social media. Social media has been the number one growth factor for us. And by niching down, and not, again, it's not just niching, it's the granular level within the industry that we focused on. We know who we're talking to. So now, if you see a video that we're posting online, if you see us in one of these communities and I'm giving real answers about your industry, that's a need I have. And it makes it
Mm-hmm.
so much easier to scale. So every video that we put out, every post that I do, even on my individual social media accounts, tells people this is what I do. And now people are referring to us so easily. It was amazing to me. Obviously we went to law school, so we have a lot of lawyer friends. And they still didn't really understand what we did when we said we're business attorneys, because that's so general. And once we started saying we focus on the aesthetics industry within the med spas and the companies that provide materials to the med spas, whether it's devices, products, etc. Now they're like, oh, okay, got that. I know. And anytime they have a client or a referral that is in the aesthetics or works in a med spa, they say, I have the perfect attorney for you, because they know
Yeah.
exactly what we do. And all of our
Yeah.
social media, when that person goes on, they're like, oh, this person actually knows what they're talking about. There's that social proof automatically through social media.
Yeah, so give me a little bit greater context on how you're using social media. I understand, organic content, positioning, maybe like facts in the industry where when they go on, it builds more trust and consideration. Is there any additional context beyond that that's really useful for other law firms to hear?
I would recommend finding, so Facebook groups have been a huge thing. I would recommend finding a Facebook group within the niche that you want to focus on. There's one for everything. Literally anything that interests you, there's a Facebook group for it. Find one. When you go on to Facebook, it'll tell you when you're looking for groups how many posts that group has on average per day. You want to look for one that has consistent activity. And that did two things for us. One, because I joined a couple of the aesthetics Facebook groups right when we made this decision, but I didn't post. I used it for educational purposes. What are these issues that they're actually having? And it
Yeah.
allowed me to learn what their problem is. So now when I market, I'm marketing a solution for you. I'm telling you, I understand your issues. So that's the one thing I would say, find a group that's active and join it, learn a little bit, and then become the person that's consistently active with a solution in that group. Inevitably, the floodgates open and they say, how can I learn more from you?
Let me clarify this a little bit, Tabitha. I love this. This is fascinating. So you're saying get in the group, identify the group, pre-qualify the group, right? On, hey, this is a relevant group. It has the type of content that's useful. It has the admin rules that make it not seem too spammy. And you're saying don't actually post in the group, but you're saying identify kind of the common pain points and questions. Did you comment on some of those and provide feedback, or are you saying not even at that point? You're just basically taking the content and making a mental thought of it.
Yeah, I just learned the first, I would say, about 3 months of being in the several groups that I was in or am still in. I was just learning. I wouldn't offer any solutions. I wouldn't offer anything because they don't know me yet. And I wanted to see commonality, right? You need, and I'm sure you tell your clients this all the time. One of the things we learned in marketing is there's no overnight fix. You need time to
Mm-hmm.
collect data. So the first
Yeah.
2, 3 months was just data collection. And I would keep a running list of here are the questions that people are asking, here are their pain points, whether it's legal or not. I wanted to have that data because then I become a resource above and beyond what you like. And that's what we do with our clients, anyways. When we were generalists, I made a point to make myself very well known in my community so that if my clients would call me and say, I need a roofer, the hurricane came by, who do you know? I'm always the person they think of.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself is so valuable to our recurring business that we translated that into the Facebook groups. I'm like, I want to know what problems you have even outside the law.
Yeah, you want to be that business resource, right? Like, I know the best referrals that I've ever gotten from a client perspective were the referrals that came from their banker. Because if their banker referred them to us, then they knew there was probably,
Yeah.
our ability to produce the work was pretty strong because, the banker needs to get paid back on their loan. And so I found those are really strong referrals. Out of curiosity, have you tried anything in the Reddit community space, a similar approach to the Facebook group approach?
We used Reddit for the educational part of it with respect to kind of learning what are people searching for, what are they asking. So that played
Yeah.
into the education component that then targeted our, or I should say, shaped what our marketing would be, what the message would be. We don't really use it so much from a community perspective because it's a lot more difficult to get the one-on-one. On Facebook and LinkedIn, you know that person, that they're using their real name. You can click them, you can
Hmm.
see where are they located, do they have kids, are they married? Usually all of that is on their profile. So you can automatically start developing this avatar of, okay, what age range are we? What kind of interests do our clients have? Because now I know what your interests are. Well, cool. I can find there's probably more people like you that have those same interests.
Yeah, that's the fascinating thing about social media that's changed the game a little bit. This has nothing to do with marketing, really, although it does from a personal branding standpoint. I use social media all the time in our hiring process. Hey, if I have a solid interview or potential red flag that pops up in the interview, I go and I look at the social pages. I mean, I always almost look at them anyway, just as like a follow up in the interviewing process of, hey, how does their social profiles align with what context I was given in the interview. And especially in the marketing industry, you think, hey, if they don't have a presentable public profile on their social profiles, how much are they going to care about a company's professional presentation? And I and sometimes that's been a really uh, important part of the hiring process that's been really useful. I was curious about the Reddit communities because Reddit's becoming more and more prevalent. Of course, it went public with the IPO. That gave it all other sorts of relevance in the industry. We and I'm starting to look at Reddit communities and Facebook groups with a lot of similarities in terms of the synergy and the structure. Although Reddit communities have seen, based on my early observation, they seem to be a little bit less spammy in nature from some of the Facebook groups. And by the nature of Facebook over time, I remember well, maybe longer than that, 7, 8 years ago in this industry, the whole narrative was, hey, you got to be on Facebook, and it's got all this free advertising and this free organic reach, which was it was the truth back then. And then Facebook goes, hey, we got to make more money of all this traffic, that's coming across. And they started declining that reach of the business page to 1/10 of your audience, and requiring you to pay to play.
Yeah.
And at that point, the forward thinking businesses then went inside the groups and started to monetize a lot of that traffic in the very way that you're describing. However, what I find works the best is intertwining that personal and corporate brand. This is very important with a service-based business, and it's tricky because a lot of people want to separate the two and separate their social profiles and all this, and it's just not reality, right? Like the two are intertwined, especially in a service-based business where you're one of the owners or the founders. And so I'm really curious, Tabitha, for you, because a lot of the content also involves you personally
Yeah.
that's published across the business page. How do you balance personal branding with the firm's online branding through your marketing approaches?
So I would say social media gives you the tools to govern that. You are 100% correct. And honestly, that was a little hesitancy for me when I realized that when I'm in these Facebook groups, they're seeing me, my profile picture, right? And then I
Mm-hmm.
started getting friend requests. And I'm like, I don't want you guys to see, my personal family photos and things of that nature. And even on Instagram, because that's also a big one for us through Instagram. And I realized, you know what? I don't I don't need to fight this. If this is going to help them build that trust factor, then let's go for it. And what I do within social media is on Facebook, you can put them as, if someone's adding you, you put them as a limited profile. And then that way they're not going to see your, if you don't want your children's pictures being shown or your family reunion or, you on the beach on vacation, you can set that to where anyone on your limited profile can't see that. Similarly with Instagram, not so much the posts, but the stories. You can share them to the close
Yeah.
friends. So that's what I do. And it's been very effective. I made sure that the cover photo on Facebook matched the cover photo of our law firm's Facebook. Obviously, my profile picture is more personal, but that has been huge. It is a lot of work. That's the one thing that I didn't anticipate was when you're not even 9 to 5, but when you're during the work week and you have a team who can systematize things and emails come in and things get answered, etc. But when it's your personal accounts and people are DMing you and asking you questions, not to your business account, which your assistants can do, to your personal account, you're like, okay, all right, this is what it takes. Let's answer these. And so we're actually now working on a system to where we can give access to my personal accounts to my assistant so that people get answered on a timely basis. That one I'm still resisting a little bit.
Yeah, it's scary. And I do that personally. My office manager has access to my LinkedIn profile. She's able to do outreach, response, things of that nature. So it's a big jump and it's a little scary, but it is a necessary jump if you're, if that corporate branding does involve, your personal brand as well. And I am really interested in just learning a little bit more about when you niched down, one of the concerns when we at Building Brands Marketing niched down was losing out on potential business that, we felt we would have got without niching down, and that potentially uh, negatively impacting our business income. What advice would you give to a law firm owner or an entrepreneur looking to niche down who is concerned about losing potential business when they do so?
Uh, Something that I read from, I believe it was Mark Cuban. I'm really big in personal development, and he has a lot of really great nuggets. And one of the things he said was, growth is on the other side of fear. And honestly, the fear is what was holding me back. I will tell you, admit 100%, my business partner wanted to niche down probably like 3 years ago. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. We're not saying no to business. If someone wants to hire us and it's work we know how to do and can do, why would we turn down money? It makes no logical sense. And then through learning and really understanding business, what it means to run a business, that fear was something you just have to conquer. And I would
Mm-hmm.
tell any business owner who's too scared to niche and has that fear is going to hold you back. And if you're okay with having a cap and a limit, okay, by all means, stay scared and run the business the way that makes you comfortable. But if you want growth and scalability, you have to conquer your fears. Being a business owner means doing things that you're not really comfortable with all the time. And it's amazing how much growth happens because the amount of business that we got before we niched was great. Like we were comfortable, we were good. We're like, we go on
Yeah.
vacations, all that good stuff. And then when you niche, it's like the floodgates open. Initially, there is a transition period. I mean, maybe not all the time. For us, there was. We had about 2 to 3 months of lower revenue than what we were used to. And we're like, oh, crap. What did we do? And I really
Mm-hmm.
felt like we were being tested because we would constantly get new people. Hey, do you want to do this? Hey, I need this help. And we're like, sorry, we don't offer that service anymore. Sorry, we don't offer that. And you literally can see the dollars walking out of your door. But then you kind of get, once your marketing develops, because it takes time to market people, you need that reputation and that kind of longevity to develop your brand. After a few months, your brand starts to develop and the clients just come. And it is like the money that you wanted to protect, that you were scared of losing, easily is going to triple. If not, we're working on 10x right now because you're focused on such a specific audience that knows you and you know what they need and they want your help.
Yeah, the thing is when you narrow the door on the entry point to a sales pipeline and all of a sudden, you're able to take all this and now it's just this, or you're willing to take, I should say. Well, all of a sudden the sales pipeline has to be refilled, right? All of that inventory that was in your sales specs now is narrowed to just this. So it is going to just an in-between period, where you catch up with itself again. And stage where some people can panic. That's also the uncomfortable stage where your business operations could feel, if you adequate cash flow or things like that, can feel some tightening. However, it's a necessary, just a great step in order to get to that next point system. So Tabitha, you've good in terms of insights today. This has been a tell our listeners and viewers, where can we find you online?
Yeah, so the firm, we are in Instagram and Facebook. Bryant Taylor Instagram handle is at Bryant Taylor Law, and Facebook Law.
Very good. Well, thanks again for being on the show today, Tabitha, and congratulations on all the firm's success. We look forward to speaking in the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.